In the world of fantasy, with superheroes and villains, we all have our favorites, be it Deadpool, Superman, absolutely anyone on this t-shirt right here, and of course one of the fan favorites, Captain America. But there is one superhero, one guy who we can all genuinely kind of agree is probably one of our top 5 heroes in everyone's list, and that guy, ladies and gentlemen, is Spider-Man. Wait, I knew I had a t-shirt somewhere. Spider-Man! That's right, Spider-Man. Ever since I began doing this coloring book series, I wanted to color Spider-Man. You all wanted me to color Spider-Man. I've seen the comments. It has been crazy, and I was so relieved and happy to have finally found this. I've been searching everywhere. So, we are gonna flick through this thing. I actually don't know what this cost me. There's no price on it, and I got it off of Amazon in like a bulk buy, so yeah. But we are gonna flick through this right now together. I am super excited for this one. I think this one is gonna come out absolutely amazing, and I just can't wait to start this. So without further ado, let's get looking inside it, see what we've got to work with, and we're gonna pick the best images and hopefully create a beautiful piece of artwork with everyone's favorite, Spider-Man. Oh, but before we do that, we gotta say right now, for all of you who are new and all of you who don't agree that Spider-Man is one of the best, leave a comment down below. Who is your favorite superhero across all media? Enjoy the video. Let's do this. Right, hello. Here we go. We've got a Spider-Man coloring book. Finally, it's been so long. I've been waiting so long for this. But as is tradition, before we begin, we're going to have a look through this right now and see what we've got to work with. So, front cover, really nice. Spider-Man, Marvel, coloring book. On the back side, Spider-Man. Spider-Man? Spider. Spider with a red background. Really nice. Moving back to the front. We're going to open this up, see what we've got inside. Spider-Man coloring book for kids. Hey! I'll do what I want when I want. So first page we have, that's not Spider-Man. It could be, but it's not. Okay, so some of these images are sort of this way, so we're gonna ignore those because I don't want to be drawing in that view. So skip it a Oh my god. Spider-Man on a bike. Coolest thing ever. What? Anyway, I'm supposed to be flicking through this. Let's continue flicking through until we find something we really want to work with. Superhero landing. Spider-Butt, Spider-Butt. Wow. Well, that actually looks pretty cool. Besides some, like, clipping issues here, it looks... Wow, I really like this one. We might do this one. Let's continue going on. And if we find something better, but that looks pretty good. Huh. No. This is what we're going to be working with. I have got an idea for this. I know what I want to do. Now, there is a downside with this frame being around it, but we are going to try to work that frame into this drawing. The only nightmare is this sort of thing it's doing. Stop that. I can't wait to get on with this. I'm super excited for it. Spider-Man is just the best ever, and I do hope you like this drawing when it's done. During this whole drawing process, I'm going to be talking to you through exactly what I'm doing when I'm doing it, so if you want to learn with me at home, then we can do that together. Let's get on with coloring Spider-Man and his web. Right, so kicking things off, let's start as we always do by adding our base colors. We're going to be using one type of red and one type of blue, and later we're going to be using a sort of darker shade to highlight where those shadows will be. Now this is a personal preference, you don't have to do that, but that's something I like to do to just guide me along the way later on when we start adding some shadows in. And let me just say at this point, I have no idea what the future will bring. In previous installments, I've planned out quite heavily what I'm going to be doing with a character, but right here, I just want to be a little bit more carefree and just sort of see where it takes me. Right here you're seeing me add some shadows using my markers. Now this is a step that I like to do. This isn't a step you necessarily have to do because when we go on to using the pencils later on, we can hide any of this and all of this, to be honest. But I do it because it gives me a little bit more of a clearer guideline later on when I'm adding those shadows with the pencils. And I'm also a little bit more free here because any mistakes that I do make with these markers, it means nothing because I can cover them up completely with the pencils. Or usually I can. We'll see how this paper works out. But I would suggest either using the same tone of marker and just doubling up the color, or just grabbing the sort of next shade down or up, whichever way you want to go with that, basically the darker one, and just putting a little bit of a rough guide in so you know where your shadow is going to be and you just have a clearer understanding later on of what you got to do. While I'm colouring this, I just want to say a couple things about the paper itself, because I am already noticing a few things with this. So we're going to compare it to our previous installments and just see how it stacks up. So yeah, this is easily the worst paper we have used thus far. I don't know what it's made from, but it is draining my pens super fast, and the bleeding is a little bit uncontrollable here. Now, as I always say, I am an artist on a budget. That means I only have one pen for each color. So, hey, stop making my ink level so low, please. But seriously, I can already tell that this paper wants to challenge me. This paper is coming at me, and you know what? I accept your challenge, and we're gonna go at it. Me and this paper, we're... Okay, well, this is looking pretty good actually with the colors as they are. Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of happy. We could probably just end the video right here. But let's make our lives hard. Let's make it just a little bit more difficult by trying to add another style. A style that I have used in the past. So we're going to go grab our pencils and let's see what we can do. So this style is something I've used to turn sort of animated, cartoonish images into a more realistic style. It is something that I used back in episode 5 for the Iron Man, though I am definitely gonna hold back a little bit with this one just because of the limitations of this paper. I don't think I'll be able to do it, and also at this point I've kind of got an idea what I want to do for the background, and if I go realistic with Spider-Man, that is going to cause me a complete headache later on with that background, so we're not gonna do that right now. Now, the reason I lay a pencil on top of marker, this is a technique and strategy I've been using for many years, is because it allows us to have a solid colored base as opposed to having the white of the paper showing through. It also allows for the pencils to go down a little bit easier on top of it. Don't ask me why, but it really just makes it just a little bit easier. That said, I am already noticing a lack of coverage being allowed with this paper here. So I don't know what, I really don't know what this paper is made of, but it is trying to make this difficult, but we will push forward. Okay, nice. So we're sort of getting somewhere at the moment. It's not looking terrible. So if it's not looking terrible, it's looking okay-ish. So moving on to the leg. Now this is what I would consider the foreground of this image, as it is sort of the largest part of Spider-Man's physique right here. I consider it the foreground, which is why I'm going to put a lot more detail into the leg muscles, adding a lot more muscle than you might expect. Kind of what I do actually. I kind of go over the top when I don't need to. But yeah, I just think as it's in the foreground, it should be treated in such a respectable way and given all the details it could possibly want. So yeah, brush up on your muscle anatomy because this is going to be crazy. Okay, so at this point, Spider-Man is complete, for the most part anyway. There's probably some stuff I'll add shortly, but for the most part, it looks alright, it's not too bad.
Now comes the fun bit. We have to try to do something with that background, and the background's pretty plain. We're kind of limited with that big rectangle right there, so I'm thinking window. Window is a kind of easy cop out, and I think that would work pretty well right here. And now that I've said I'll be doing a window, you probably understand why I said I will hold back on the realism on Spider-Man, because no way am I going to be coloring in a realistic window. Ho ho, no. Don't know if you've ever tried it, but hey, drawing glass, nightmare. Honestly, I didn't plan. I did not plan a single bit of this window frame. I just started doing stuff, and you will notice a couple times I do go outside of the line areas that I was planning to do. That's just because I genuinely had no idea what kind of frame I was going to do. I had no reference, so I was just kind of whatever. And I'm honestly actually very nervous at this point, because as I said before, the paper quality isn't fantastic, and what it did to my markers when coloring in just Spider-Man was quite heavy. So I'm already pretty low on those colors, and this is a big risk going into this, knowing that those colors I used already started to run out of ink just on him alone, so grabbing another color to attempt the background is going to be a little bit difficult. So in order to limit the amount of marker I'll be using, what I've decided to do is add a pair of blinds into the window. I wanted to add just a set of window blinds, something that would save me coloring in the entire window one color. And then like a fool, I decided to put the window blinds closed, which kind of left me coloring in the window one color. That was a good decision, wasn't it? So as I'm progressing through this, I'm getting more and more nervous about this. I am really conscious of the amount of ink I'm using on this paper, the way that the paper itself is treating the ink with the bleeding. It's very nerve-wracking. So to substitute some of the mistakes, I decided earlier that I would add the cracks into the frame of the windows. And they were just there to sort of absorb the blending. The bits that I'd overspilled from the lines, that was just there to cover those. But when it came to the window itself, you don't really have that scapegoat. There isn't really an out option. Or so I thought. So I decided, right, I'm going to add a shadow to Spider-Man. I'm going to put a shadow on him against the blinds themselves. So it's not a shadow on the window, but it's a shadow on the blinds. But as I got into doing this, I started to realize it doesn't really show as a shadow. It looks a little bit off, you know, you can't tell that the blinds are there, and you can't really tell what is happening here. So this is where I went into panic mode. This is where everything for me was just, right, we're just going to grab anything we can. My 2 pens have run out of ink completely, so we are really struggling here. We're going to grasp at straws. We're going to start adding some highlights to this window, shadows to the window, and then eventually, finally, I decided to add reflections to the window. Now, the reflections were a last-minute decision, and this was based on pretty much the principle that it just wasn't clear that this was a window. You couldn't tell it was a window. Unless I had told you it was a window, you wouldn't have noticed that. So I added the reflections of Spider-Man first. That was difficult. And then I felt, right, well, if Spider-Man's there, we're going to have to add some more reflections. So let's put some clouds in there. But I didn't want it to appear that he was, you know, swinging from his web 500 foot off the floor. I wanted to bring it a little bit more down to the ground. So I decided to add some buildings. And at this point, my camera did die on me, so there might be a little bit missing. But we do kind of get back into it. And yeah, so I'm just putting some generic buildings in there, nothing crazy, and I'm actually inspired with the buildings from the original PlayStation games. If you ever played the Spider-Man games, that's where the inspiration to do those buildings came from. And finally, when we get towards the end, I do add a special monument in there, just because, hey, it's Spidey, and he is, and forever will be, an Avenger. So I'm going to let the rest of this play out right now, and we will come back at the end to discuss my choices, my options, what I've done with this, and yeah, hopefully you'll like the results. So I will catch you in a moment. So here it is. Here is the finished version of my Spider-Man coloring book. And yeah, I gotta say, I actually kind of like it despite the paper. Now, the paper was an absolute nightmare during this entire process, especially when it came down to doing the background. The bleeding was way too uncontrollable, and there were some areas, particularly with the Avengers Tower, that were causing me huge problems. Every time I tried to lay color in one place, it moved to somewhere else, and it just forced me to change the entire image that I had envisioned. Overall though, I actually really liked the results, and though this is far from being my best work, I actually enjoyed it to the point where I didn't really rip out all of my hair. And at the end of the day, that is the point of these coloring books. Children's coloring books are here not for children, they are for people of all ages, and they are here to just have fun. You don't need to take them too seriously, you can just enjoy yourself, and the great thing about these is we can all get them. Everyone can go out, get one of these, and you can draw alongside me. You can compare your results with mine, and you can share them online with me, just as Daryl over on Twitter did with his Superman one, actually inspired from episode 1 of this series, and it just looks super cool, and I'm really excited to see how he takes this and his results at the end.
So I just want to say to anyone who is inspired and would love to take this on, if you do manage to find any of these coloring books that have featured in this series, then I would absolutely love to see your results, and feel free to tag me on Twitter, ADCArtAttack, or Instagram, ADCArtAttack. Now that said, today's drawing, I'm actually really happy that I found it so difficult to work with, and the paper was just such a nightmare, because it took all of the control I thought I had as an artist and threw it all out the window. It really put me in complete foreign territory, and it was fun. So yeah, that was alright. That said, I would still like to do my boy Spider-Man a little bit more justice than I did to today. So if you would like to see a follow-up video to this, where I use my regular setup, then hit that subscribe button, because a video will come shortly of me doing that in a style that I am more used to, and as I say, using better materials. So with all that being said, my name is ADCArtAttack, his name is Bob, your name is... whoever you are. Hi! And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. One question, because I always forget these questions. So the question today was, who is your favorite hero across all media? It doesn't have to be Marvel or Avengers or anything like that. It can be anything. Who is your favorite superhero? And a bonus question for today. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? Leave a comment down below. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.